For what seems like forever, gamers have been talking about what they want to see from each gaming company they prefer. Be it the power narrative, the games narrative, or the services narrative, no matter what you hear or where you go, these topics are always at the forefront of every gamer's wants and needs when it comes to their gaming platform. And if we're going to be honest with ourselves, we have to admit that Sony has been very understanding on what hardcore gamers want from their console. When this generation first started, it was all about power and having the best looking games, along with amazing indie support. Throw in some exclusive third-party deals like they had with Destiny, and you have a winning formula that no other gaming company had a chance of competing against. But as time went on, they dropped amazing exclusive games that every single gamer wanted to play. And this strategy from the top down really did win Sony this gaming generation easily. But with the new consoles right around the corner and everyone keeping their ears to the ground waiting for any type of news regarding the next generation strategy from Sony or Microsoft, it's exciting when we get some hard evidence about what each company is planning. And that's exactly what we got with Sony, who just had a company strategy briefing where they explained the strategy they'll be taking for the PlayStation 5. And I'm here to talk about that with you in this video. So let's get into it. But first, if you like the video, please hit that like button and that subscribe button. The support is greatly appreciated. Let's start it off with what Yoshida said about the PlayStation 5 and what type of customer that machine will be targeting. He said it's a niche product aimed at the hardcore players of gaming, and hardcore gamers want performance when it comes to their system. So there will be a very strong emphasis for the PS5 to be an 8K resolution, ultra high definition graphics. Sony believes that visual quality is the main factor for hardcore players when they purchase a new console that will last them for at least 5 to 6 years. And like I said before, this is the same exact strategy that Sony used when they launched the PS4. They made their console more powerful than the Xbox One and released it at a much better price point. But as we know, this time around, Xbox isn't trying to give the power narrative up to Sony anytime soon, as multiple executives from Xbox have said they are going for the most immersive or powerful console on the market. It would seem that Xbox will have its work cut out for them because Sony's strategy seems to be the exact same, which as a gamer makes me very happy because I want two huge companies going head to head trying to get my money. Competition is great for every consumer, no matter which platform you love. And so I do feel great about both consoles that will release next year because both companies do seem very focused on delivering the best experience to us, the gamers. Now, the next thing that Sony emphasized in this strategy briefing was probably the biggest piece of news in the entire article, and that's the company is going to concentrate on strengthening its relationships with large publishers while they work on AAA exclusive games from their internal studios. Now, this has to be one of the best things gamers have heard from this supposed strategy briefing. I say that because for the last 2 years, a lot of gamers have shouted from the rooftops that Sony has the best exclusives around, bar none. And if we are honest with ourselves, these people are correct, because for the last 2 years, Sony has released highly rated games that not only rate high, that have great gameplay mechanics and awesome graphics attached to them. The strategy that Sony is trying to execute for PlayStation 5 is something that a lot of Xbox fans have wanted for a very long time, to have the internal studios create high-end, big-budgeted games that are massive experiences we all can enjoy. Sony has done this for the last 2 years, if not more, with great games like God of War, Spider-Man, Horizon Zero Dawn, and even Uncharted Lost Legacy. Games that really show the quality of a studio, but also maximize the hardware attached to it. So when Sony reiterated that they will continue to grow their first-party portfolio with not only more studios and great relationships, but with massive games that most hardcore gamers and even casuals want to play. It's something that's been missing from the Xbox side of things. While Xbox has had Sea of Thieves, Forza 4, and now Gears 5 coming right around the corner, games I think are amazing and will probably be played a whole lot by me, it still does raise the question about what every studio is doing at Microsoft and if they'll be able to compete with Sony and these big budgeted games. Because it would seem that Microsoft isn't the only one buying and creating new studios to make huge games. Sony has created a new studio in San Diego made up of former leads at Naughty Dog, along with other internal studios. This new studio is making a third-person action-adventure story-driven game. There's also the rumor that Guerrilla Games has 2 studios now, plus other rumors floating around about new studios and maybe new IPs coming from established creators. Sony wants to flood the market with high-quality games you can only get on their system, and right now, they do control that market, we have to admit it. But all of these awesome, huge AAA games does come at a cost, and that cost is the indie games that a lot of people love to play. The article says this: it is not targeting indie or smaller developers as sources are limited. Case in point, Sony is not planning to showcase independent developers at their Tokyo Game Show, which it has done in previous years. One of the officials explained that Sony believes people will buy the next console for high-quality exclusives rather than smaller games already available on mobile. Executives at smaller games firms say they feel snubbed by this strategy. However, one Sony official believes they will still release games for PlayStation 5 even without the platform holder's support, because the popularity will mean it will be a key market they cannot ignore. This is very confident and a huge gamble by Sony, because if people remember, at the beginning of this generation, Sony and PlayStation 4 was all about the indie developer and supporting them at every turn. And to me, this was because Sony didn't have that many exclusive games at the beginning of this generation, but still had the power narrative in their corner. But once they got their first party developers in order and were releasing high quality games 2 or 3 times a year, they started to focus more on that than indie games, which a lot of hardcore gamers and gamers in general responded very well to. And this news comes straight off the heels of E3, where Microsoft showed over 15 minutes of indie developer games on their stage, which was met with a lot of criticism by Xbox fans, me being one of them. I felt that part of the show was very slow and something I wasn't interested in. Now, I understand the relationships that need to be made with indie developers, but I also believe that those games should have their time to shine later on in the week, not on the biggest stage of the year for your company. But now for the last bit of information that Sony sees as important, which is they feel that Microsoft is their main source of competition when it comes to gaming. They believe Google and its Stadia streaming service will be bigger threats when the next generation is towards its end. But this could change depending on the internet tech and infrastructures that could be improved upon in the next couple of years. With Microsoft being their main competition, it would seem that Sony is trying to appeal to the traditional gamer instead of trying to go after everyone else. And while we know they made an agreement with Microsoft to use their Azure servers for game streaming, that process is probably going to take a few years for them to develop and maintain, which would probably have them ready when Google with Stadia is starting to hit its stride, along with Xbox's xCloud game streaming service. So it does seem that Sony is taking a wait-and-see approach with the gaming market as they concentrate on gamers and hardware first and foremost. But let's end this video with what Jim Ryan said back in May. Back in May, Jim Ryan said initial momentum will be vital to maintaining that position, with Sony determined to upgrade PlayStation owners to the next generation faster than ever before. Backwards compatibility will be the key to this. Let's hope that both companies bring their A game next generation along with their AAA titles, because I want to see what both companies bring to the table. I understand that Sony isn't going to just lay down and let Microsoft and Google and whoever else wants to come into the gaming market walk all over them. That's not how Sony works. They're very prideful and they're also very competitive. I feel like they come after every company with their high quality games. They kind of slap them out there and say, make something better than us, I dare you. And that's something that you have to respect about Sony, is that they make these high quality games that people love. Do I wish they had more multiplayer games and co-op games? Of course I do, and I really do hope they bring some out next generation, because they didn't bring out one great co-op or huge AAA multiplayer game at all this entire generation. So let's hope they actually get that down pat. But I do have to say that I love the competition between both companies. I think Microsoft buying more studios and moving forward with their company is better for all us gamers. Having two huge companies go at it for our dollar. That's what I want to see. I love hearing about these strategy conferences and all this stuff that they want to do next generation. It gets me excited to invest in these new consoles next year. But enough about what I think. Tell me what you think about all this. Is this strategy something you'd love to hear? Would you love for Microsoft to say something similar to this? Do you think Sony can release high quality AAA games in a timely manner? Will they be able to compete with Microsoft buying and creating so many new studios? Go down below and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button and that like button. Any support helps the channel out more than you know. And you can also follow me on Twitter @Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing my videos. Also follow me on Twitch. The link will be in the description. If you want to hang out and chat with me, I'm very active with my chat and always playing games. I'll hope to see you guys there. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.